Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, October 24th, which, I don't know, maybe this is Halloween Eve? Halloween's Eve, or Halloween, or I guess I should know that stuff. I need to play some spells, and if I get some Paladin and Priest victories, that'd be great too. Otherwise, I am fine where I am. If I play Control Priest, I'm good. I'd just like to try to get some wins. We're already on the European account. We're potentially going to be moving over to the Asian account and then jumping back to do Tavern Brawls. I don't have a ton of news either. And all this kind of centers around the idea that I'm starting early in the morning instead of streaming very, very late. We'll see how many views that gets me. There was one of my streams, there must have just been a bug with YouTube, and YouTube is changing something about live streams, and I have an article about it, but I don't fully understand it until I read the article. But there was a bug where it just took him forever to process one of my videos, and 2 days later it processed and they announced it, and I'm like, okay, well, that video happened a while ago. Not a big deal though. We've got a game on Steam called Boss Barrage, which looks like a bullet hell shooter game. Really, it looks like a second-year students video game programmers project. I'm gonna start covering project games by actual video game students more if I can find some more. I found a whole 3 different games that have been published by Brigham Young University, and none of them look very good. Although they all looked a little bit better than this game did. They want $2.99 for this game, no discount. That's really asking a lot for Boss Barrage. Let's see, let's come over here and play this. And yes, of course, the developer has not made anything else. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if almost every game I look at today is bad. We're getting too close to the end of the year for people who had any thought whatsoever of a release strategy. Like, they would have released their games by now, or they would hold off until like February or later. In all honesty, you probably could release some games in January, but I think by the time you hit October, end of October as it is now, or Black Friday, I think there's too much competition. It doesn't make a lot of sense. That being said, the Steam Halloween, fall, and winter sale dates have all been leaked, and we'll talk about that later. So if there are 3 Steam sales, maybe it makes a little bit of sense to release your game. But if you're trying to release it for a Steam sale, why not try to release it at the exact time as Steam sale is happening, or a week before, which maybe it is a week before the next Steam sale. I'm gonna have to double check and see what goes on there. Right. I
must consider.
I'm gonna play this, and this. Next game we have on Steam is called Cat Burglar, which, again, not impressive in the graphics. It's a platformer jumper. Seems like you're avoiding tiny little pixel wide spikes. It seems like you get these bursts of speed that move you forward, but boy is that game not moving smoothly. It's $12.99 is what they want for this game, which at best is a terrible infinite runner from a developer who has one other game called Metropolis that they're selling for $24.99. And let's look at Metropolis. It's a city management game. It looks better than Cat Burglar by a little bit, but not enough for $25. Alright. Let's do this. So how do we want this to go down? I think we have to do this to kill that guy. And then do that, and do that. In the turn. So yeah, Metropolis, not interesting. Next game we have on Steam is called Sacred Earth Promise, a visual novel JRPG female protagonist. Usually you don't have something tagged visual novel and JRPG. Can't really be both. Although to be fair, JRPGs probably do have little elements of what a visual novel is. Something falls down to the level of a description of a visual novel when there's really nothing else going on. It's effectively similar to describing a movie as a TV show and a movie, or maybe there is a better way to explain that. Let's see.
What is my purpose?
Let's keep on attacking.
Right away.
End the turn. Or you know what, it would be a better comparison? It would be if you called a first-person shooter a walking simulator, because you can walk around in a 3D first-person shooter. Like that would not make any sense. That's basically what they're saying. Sacred Earth Promise is 10% off for $11.69. There's no way that's making it to my follow list. In fact, I'm not sure very many games at all. In this weird instance, there's 3 student projects that don't deserve to make it to my follow list, and then there may not be anything else after that. Let's do this. Do this, and then let's see. This. I could cast more spells, certainly. TechRaptor has an article, Zombie Orifice Entertainment pulls films from goodoldgames.com. Good Old Games is irritating people. There was the CD Projekt Red owns Good Old Games, first of all. So there was the joke reply tweet on Twitter where they said, "Did you just assume our gender?" and SJW didn't like that. And then there was a Good Old Games tweet that came out that said, "Buy our old games, they'll hashtag never be deleted." Unfortunately, it seems either you can attribute nefarious intent or stupidity to this. It seems like they didn't, but I'll say it was stupidity. They didn't realize that the hashtag never be deleted hashtag was actually being used for the most part. This is inherently the problem with hashtags, is that a lot of people could be using the same hashtag for many different reasons, but it seemed like for the most part it was being used by people who were upset with some story where where Obama is somehow going to stop recognizing transgendered people. Oh, it's not never be deleted. Here's the exact tweet. Let me do a full quote here. Good Old Games Twitter, quote, classic PC games hashtag won't be erased on our watch. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, how's that for some use of hashtags? Which honestly, that second sentence feels like the person who is in charge of Good Old Games Twitter feed is getting some instructions that they don't appreciate from a boss, and I could clearly see, imagine what happened in the background an hour earlier was their boss says, you need to use more hashtags in the tweets, and this is what they did out of spite. But then you would attribute malice, and there's other ways you could attribute malice, when you might also just attribute stupidity. So take your pick there. So in the wake of that story,
I comply.
Like, the hashtag won't be erased as in response to recently leaked memo by the US president, which expresses the intent to curb the rights and freedoms of transgendered population. Which I don't know what really this memo said or not, but whatever. I'm not here to talk about politics, I'm talking about the effect on video games, and even in that instance it kind of sucks that I'm talking about it.
Is someone injured?
I comply.
Job's done.
There's a quote here that says, the harm that hate speech does to people who are under immense threat from governments, private individuals, and corporations is incalculable. This is from Ben Dobbins, the CEO of Zombie Orpheus. Which, okay, so that tweet that I just quoted to you, he is labeling as hate speech. And this is also inherently the problem where the phrase hate speech should be not really allowed. The entire concept, to go into a bit of a rant here, of saying any speech is hate speech and thus not allowed and not protected under the overall world concept of freedom of speech, not just the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Many countries have curbed people's freedom of speech by claiming it's hate speech. I think the number one reason why you have to protect the freedom of speech is to protect unpopular speech, and so you really shouldn't have any carving of it all. Like, literally none. It should be all speech is allowed, including hate speech. And this nebulous term of hate speech is getting applied to everything and anything. So let's see. Let's continue. Apparently this is the third tweet that has been sent out in the past few months. Apparently at some point Good Old Games also tweeted out a picture of a person peeing on the grave labeled game journalism and the date of the death on the grave, the start of the Gamergate movement. Okay, so yeah.
Oh, a shadow.
I think when it's your third instance, though, it's being unrealistic to say this was ignorance. So it seems like they know what they're doing. The response from Good Old Games was posted, quote, yesterday we posted a tweet containing a trending hashtag as a pun. The tweet was neither intended to be a malicious attack nor a comment on to the ongoing social debate. Good Old Games should focus only on games. We acknowledge that and we commit to that. So this is an odd story though, because it's Zombie Orpheus Entertainment pulled the films from Good Old Game. I don't know what films were on Good Old Games. I didn't think any were. I didn't even know that they released movies. So the bigger story here, as far as I'm concerned, is Good Old Games had films on it. Or at least it did. Let's see. Honestly though, too, corporate wars over tweets sound like bad business. Apparently Zombie Orpheus Entertainment is the production company behind the web series Journey Quest and indie movie series The Gamers. Never heard of either.
They all bend to my command.
So yeah. Okay, well, if I could say one good thing about Steam and Valve, is their drama, at the very least, is resolving a little bit better, and they're not stepping into putting their own foot in their mouth, it seems, as much as Good Old Games Twitter feed is. Gonna go ahead and double that and freeze this guy and play that and heal and attack there. So I guess what you can probably expect is Good Old Games is going to say something else that's going to offend somebody else. People now are also mad at Good Old Games for apologizing. Honestly, in the United States, it never pays to apologize. You should just never do it. Now, any tweet that Good Old Games puts out that is even slightly offensive, there will be more outrage and more demands for apologies, and like it's just never gonna stop. It's better, even if you are in the wrong in the United States, sadly, it's better to not apologize, burn the bridges, tell them that they're telling the people who are offended that they're never gonna get what they want, and they might as well leave you alone and go away. Sadly, that's just how it plays. Alright, so we do this, and then we do this, and
I comply.
just kill that. Moving on. Yeah, I managed to cover that story without getting in too much of a rant. Like, I really don't even care. Maybe I'm a little bit more relaxed in the mornings. Maybe that's it. Maybe my blood pressure isn't raised as high when I stream in the mornings. Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Do Not Feed the Monkeys. It's tagged with nudity, so I want to click on it and show it quite yet. Let's see. Simulator where you watch strangers through surveillance cameras, which is a thing that potentially can be done if people are very insecure, hacked surveillance cameras. Just go ahead and play this, and then play this. Seems like it's a tag choices matter strategy game. Witness their most intimate moments, but don't interact with the subjects. Anything could happen if you dare feed the monkeys. At least one of these characters looks exactly like Hitler that you're looking at. It's almost like a 2D version of Double Switch. But it has a bunch of crazy endings and crazy events. This is just insanity in a nutshell is what this game feels like. Alright, let's take our victory. There's a reference to Day of the Tentacle in the game. Oh, we cast 25 spells and we got 1 victory. We need 1 more to get that daily quest done. And this Tavern Brawl will be back in 2 hours, so let's now switch over to the Asian account. And this is not going to be a long streaming session, which that's a good thing, frankly. I probably shouldn't just sit here and watch this. Alright, while that's loading, let's come over here and look at Don't Feed the Monkeys.
Find a seat if you can.
Some crazy screenshots, crazy interface, craziness in general. How much do they want for this game? It's a weirdo game, certainly. It's discounted at $9.59. And what else is this publisher published? Let's just ask that question. They published Beholder, and Beholder 2 is apparently coming soon, although it feels like, in all honesty, the Beholder and Don't Feed the Monkeys are almost the same idea. Seems like they're not doing anything different, but maybe they're doing a different spin on it. It would be believable that in the process of developing one game, you'd have somebody write a comedic storyline and threads for your tale, and then somebody to write a serious version, and then you, at some point, you go, we actually can't have both these styles of story being told because the game would just feel weird. Alright, we need a paladin and warrior and 2 victories with a warlock. So let's do the warlock. Hop in here. Let's do warlock. Unranked. I might as well do it. I guess I'll put Don't Feed the Monkeys on the follow list. Let's keep an eye on it and see if it gets reviewed. Next we have a game on Steam called Jam Studio VR Education and Healthcare Edition, which seems like it's probably a either cheaper or way more expensive version of a VR game. It is not a great looking VR game. Trying to get some of these screenshots to load and nothing wants to load. Let's see what the price is while that's happening. $24.99, but requires a VR headset, so remember that. And seems like it's just a bunch of random things. This is the equivalent of a VR asset flip. Why is one of the rooms all black and why are several other things? Yeah, this is literally just a game designed to sucker schools into buying the game, and it is more expensive than the original version. That is just awful. There's also a professional therapy guide and a hip-hop version. It seems like there's all kinds of DLC on top of this. So maybe the Education and Healthcare Edition includes all the DLC? Let's see.
Almost out of time.
Let's come over and play. This app is designed for individuals, families, schools, and special needs organizations. Yeah, this app is garbage. Honestly, depending on what there's a when you're thinking about special needs kids, I'm not sure a lot of them are going to be cool with putting on a VR headset. I'm not even sure regular kids, or non-special need kids, I don't even know how you say that, are gonna be cool with putting on a VR headset for very long, or at all times, always.
Face the light.
Moving on to the next story, TechRaptor has an article. Overwatch developer update details the replay system and new PTR patch out. I don't know what PTR is, but if you're into Overwatch, as I imagine a lot of people are, this article is here to tell you all about it, and I'm sure you can find something else. There's also a first look at Overwatch Lego sets. That honestly, these Overwatch Lego sets don't seem like they are actual sets as much as they are maybe a couple of characters, or maybe a character in the background. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of backgrounds in these sets, and these all look like pretty small Lego sets too. They certainly aren't also going to match anything, any other kind of Lego series. Oh. Okay. YouTube has an update here. They tweeted this out. YouTube can automatically archive your live streams for you if it's less than 12 hours. This applies for all types of live streams, including Stream Now, events, webcam, and mobile. This also applies to streams of 1440p and 2160p, which would be, I think, 2K and 4K resolution. However, we recommend also recording a local archive as a backup. You'll be able to create highlight clips while your stream is still live. So that was part of my question, or my last time I had issues with YouTube is that we streamed an E3 stream and that went very long, and then it was like slightly over a 10-hour stream, maybe a 12-hour stream, and then I could never edit it. So the one blocked Nintendo Content ID match is blocking all 12 hours of that video for no reason. But also, highlight clips don't seem like something you can make after the fact. Let's see. You just check the box, make archive unlisted when complete. Or you check the box, automatically make archive unlisted once the stream is ended. Let's see. I don't know what really changes there, like, because it kind of feels like that was always the case as long as I've been streaming. It doesn't really feel like they're changing anything they're doing. But maybe they're just increasing it to 12 hours. Let's see.
Truth is my shield.
Events. When you schedule a live stream, you can create an event and start streaming with the sync to preview feature enabled. Using the preview player to mark in and out points with create a highlight. Stream now. Yeah, apparently these highlights are something that they're going to try and push, but I could never use them. Or at least it seems that's the case. Alright. If I do this, kind of nothing happens, but... Let's see. It's just in the turn. Moving on to another story, Gamasutra has an article, Classic Tools Retrospective, the tools that built Deus Ex with Chris Norden. I think this might be a slightly interesting article if you're a video game developer, but I'm not gonna read it out loud online here. In a lot of ways, it is really just kind of a know your roots style of article. See, if I play this, nothing else will work, so I've gotta do this, and then let's see, I can do 15 damage as it is right now. I need one more. So let's not do it that way. Instead, let's kill this and do that. This is a rather long Gamasutra article too. But it really wouldn't help you at all to know how the Deus Ex 1 was programmed, because there are probably better ways to learn how to program and better ways to program things. It might be informative or helpful if you were going to try to completely remake from scratch Deus Ex and you didn't have any like source code. I think I just lost. Oh, no I didn't. Okay.
Face the light.
This and that. Do I want another card? Sure. We've got a game on Steam called QYBE, which looks like garbage. It's dark screenshot syndrome, very basic shapes, simple Unity game, maybe with a little bit of playing with light mechanics, somewhat, but I can't even really imagine making a game that worked around that idea. Like that just does not seem like that would be a fun attempt at a game to adjust how your shadows fall. This is $3.99 with no discount also. Alright.
I wonder.
Let's do this. I'll discard 2 random cards, or I can play everything and get rid of them first. Alright, so we do this, 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 and that. Wonder what the other people do while people are taking their turn on Hearthstone. Maybe people actually pay attention. Alright, well that screws me. Almost certainly. Maybe not. What if we were to do this? And this will do 3 to all other characters. So we do this. And then we go like this. Next we have a game on Steam called Vile that's early access. Seems like it's an MS Paint level top RPG top-down twin-stick shooter. Seems like, yeah, not an RPG, a top-down twin-stick shooter game. Now, some of this animation's not terrible, but I really don't feel like this is an art style as much as it's just a lack of an ability to animate detail. And then you look at something like this and you are animating detail, so there's some inconsistency in that too.
I wonder.
Oh no, like if the grass wasn't just solid green, if it had a few more polish on it, and it feels like 2 different people animated this game. Sometimes it's incredibly lacking in detail, sometimes it has a lot of detail in it. See, it's early access for $9.99. I think that price tag is probably too much of a problem.
It's playtime.
And yeah, I'm gonna lose, so I might as well just continue to play cards.
It's playtime.
See what this developer has also made. Nothing. No surprise there. So, We Happy Few. Looking for victories, so let's go ahead and just move over to casual. We Happy Few has version 1.5 live in its patch. I'd like to skim over its patch notes and see what's been improved. Inherently, if We Happy Few came out with a 2.0 version that got rid of all the missions and just made a single player from game that was more like a Telltale game, I'd be cool with that. What they said they did fix though is frame rate improvements, memory use improvements, can no longer use seating when occupied by NPCs. NPCs no longer slide when in idle state. Talking to one of the 2 NPCs sitting on the beach as a couple can no longer cause the other to slide off. Seems like it's very similar bugs over and over again. Yeah, let's stick with that. Fixed a number of crashes, fixed crashes, fixed crashes. Yeah. Quests. Let's see. Fix crashes, fix crashes. So they fixed some of the quests. And collision is a whole nother section on the changelog. And localization and subtitles. And then some PlayStation 4 onlys. And then Universal Windows only
So many
bugs.
possibilities.
Yeah, 1.5 doesn't feel like it has any actual features added to it. Which kind of sucks. I kind of would really like to see video games adopt a Linux style of marking updates where it is major version, minor version, and then security update version, or just patch version. That way you, well, it's just the way I think it should be. I don't know if I could get into a full argument as to why it should be that way. Just I kind of would like it to be more like that, where We Happy Few in that numbering system would have been 1.0 point whatever the date is, or point 004 because all they're doing is fixing bugs. And they really need to add some features and make some changes. Or you know what? Maybe they just are doing the right thing and they're going to get all the bugs fixed in We Happy Few and then just abandon it and move on to like the next project, which might be the right way to go.
Face the light.
Let's go and squelch this guy too. VentureBeat has an article. I usually don't talk about VentureBeat articles, but this was tweeted by Bonfire Games. The former ILM artist, I guess that's Industrial Light and Magic artist, although I'm not sure how long it's been since they last used that name, has joined the indie game studio Bonfire Games. So this is Jamie Jasso, an artist who worked at Industrial Light and Magic on giant movie franchises like Star Wars, has joined the independent studio Bonfire. Rob Pardo started Bonfire Studios in 2016. Pardo is the lead designer on World of Warcraft at Blizzard Entertainment. World of Warcraft being the MMO, not the real-time strategy games that came before. Let's see. Draw a card. Card yourself. Do this. And do that. Then end the turn. Let's see. Rob Pardo worked for Blizzard Entertainment for 17 years before leaving in 2014. Bonfire is working on an unnamed IP. We don't know any specific details about the game or any other projects. Suspicion, I guess, would be that it might be a Star Wars game, but it could be anything. If you want somebody from Industrial Light and Magic, there's a level of detail to assume there in what you're developing. Like, you're not making a retro pixel art game if you're hiring somebody who worked on Star Wars. It would be cool if a new company took over some of the Star Wars licenses instead of EA. Jasso also worked at the special effects company Blur Studios when it was developing the cinematics for 2009 Halo Wars, which that's not the greatest thing to put on your resume, certainly, but I don't know. Yep. So not a lot of story there, certainly, to take from that. Just that it was a new hire. I may get to the story, but I may miss it. Apparently, Spider-Man sold better on the PlayStation 4 than in its first month than any game in the Sony's 24-year history across any PlayStation or hardware device that they've ever made. Which I guess good word of mouth helped a lot there. I guess Spider-Man being recognizable helped a lot there. It being a good game, we heard basically no complaints about the game whatsoever. Apparently if you do all the collectibles in that game, you get a suit where you can run around in your underwear. No controversy or talking about that at all. So, like, yeah. Everybody likes Spider-Man. And I'm sure that made some money for both Sony as the... Well, actually, I don't think it makes any money for Sony because I don't think Sony Pictures owns the game license to Spider-Man, so it would make money for Marvel, aka Disney, right? Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I'm thinking this through. So yeah, it made a lot of. It probably made some money for Disney. How successful Spider-Man was. And it probably sold some PlayStation consoles too. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Anti-Factor. It looks like a low-effort game where you're shooting viruses in the computers, how it was described, but man, it just looks like a low-effort asset flip first-person shooter. $2.99, no discount. So yeah, not really saying a lot about these games. There's not a lot to say about a lot of these games. Just a lot of bad ones. And I suppose at some point I could have curated my experience if I had more time. Fortunately, I never have more time. Let's see.
It's playtime. Easy picking.
Game of Sutra has an article, Common Problems with Translating Games into Japanese. I imagine this is an article talking about translating things from, what is it? Games that are originally English to Japanese, whereas there was an article earlier about translating things that are originally Japanese to English. Let's see. See, I don't think actually I can really say much about this article because it's too detailed and too complicated. Also, I'm not paying attention to Hearthstone at all. Yeah, I'm not gonna get that victory at this rate. Let's come back here. When does this come back? In 2 hours? Paladin and Warrior. Let's lower our standards, play Odd Paladin instead. Let's see.
Uther versus Uther.
Yeah, this article is just too complicated. It requires an understanding of the Japanese language for me to try and to explain some of this beyond what I would have time to explain. So I guess you can read the article. It's called Common Problems when Translating Games into Japanese, but unlike the previous article where I assume everybody that's listening has at least some familiar with the English language because I'm speaking in English, and thus it makes a lot more sense to mention references in ways. This one is pointing out very specific things that would have to be explained on top of things that would have to be explained on top of other things that would have to be explained.
Reporting for duty. Job done.
TechRaptor has an article, Disgaea 5 complete on PC isn't entirely complete. NIS America has confirmed that omitted NPCs and other online play features missing from Disgaea Feet are by design and not a result of a bug. Citing, quote, irreconcilable platform differences, NIS America elaborates in a blog post that the the quote network functions from the original game could not be implemented into the Steam version. So yeah, you're getting a slightly worse experience on the Steam version. NIS America continues by apologizing. The differences were not communicated in advance, and we appreciate your patience and understanding in this matter. What a good way to smooth over screwing over your customer and lying to your customer. Like good old Japanese, they'll stab you in the back then apologize. NIS America closes the apology by reminding users that Steam purchasers come with an option to fully refund the purchase if total playtime has not exceeded 2 hours. The 2-hour cutoff applies for automatic refunds, so it's possible for NIS that NIS may approve refunds for players with more time, especially when Disgaea 5 Complete takes 50 hours to complete. The full list of missing NPCs and features missing from Disgaea 5 Complete is as follows: as follows in this list. And I'm not 100% sure, having not played the Disgaea series, if I'm going to be able to understand what all this is, but it says Data Shop, everybody's NW, someone's records, Netherworld Edit Shop, Netherworld Network, User Network, Map Edit Shop, Facility removed, Settings, User Netherworld, User News, Strategy Assembly, Spread News to everyone, Give an item to a friend, Netherworld Hub, Map Edit Shop, NPC. Stoking the anger of the community's fire is the fact that the Switch version of Disgaea 5, the original complete version, did come with all the networking features. This even as the Switch version is released 2 years after the initial launch on PS4. The Steam reviews have slipped into the mixed territory. Oh, by the way, speaking of games that have slipped into bad reviews, Rise of the Tomb Raider is still on sale for like $15 for the base game.
Job's done.
So you can get it cheap, but of course if you pre-ordered it, you're pretty pissed that you paid $60 or more for Rise of the Tomb Raider, and now a month later people can get it for $15. But clearly not enough people pre-ordered it or purchased it. So I wouldn't be surprised if what comes about is a couple of months from now they come out and say Rise of the Tomb Raider didn't sell well, we're canceling the Tomb Raider series. There will be no new Tomb Raiders, we're shutting down the studio, Crystal Dynamics. I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly how it goes.
Reporting for duty.
Darn it.
Get down!
I did not play well there. Did not play well at all. So it's sitting now at 64% positive as of writing. Even as Disgaea 5 was heralded as a great game in a series not known for striking differences between iterations. Many commenters in the community hub are left wondering why NIS America waited until after Disgaea 5 Complete was released on Steam before announcing the various networking features wouldn't be available. This isn't the first time the Disgaea game has been botched, had a botched launch on PC. The original Disgaea release with a lesser soundtrack, the original Disgaea was released with a lesser soundtrack and a whole host of controller and performance issues.
I don't need any of you.
Which, like, Japanese companies are releasing things on Steam, they're still working out the kinks to release the good version on Steam. Let's see. As well as the well-publicized debacle surrounding Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana earlier this year. I don't even remember what that one is. Similar to Ys 8, Disgaea 5 was also delayed for 5 months from May to October and still launched without the aforementioned networking features. This is also coupled with the fact that save games from the demo do not carry over to the full release, as NIS America changed the save game file structure, making the two versions incomplete.
I don't have enough mana.
The light protects me.
And do that.
Reporting for duty.
And
For me!
attack there. Let's click on the Steam reviews link for Disgaea 5. Yeah, right now it is at 56% positive. Well, this might actually turn out pretty good for me, personally, because I wasn't 100% sure that Disgaea was the JRPG game I wanted to play. So, let's see.
Reporting for duty.
Like, the first negative review does say that the person received their money after 10 hours of playtime. I guess these are the bumps that Japanese companies and companies on Steam in general are just going to have to go through if they're going to try these kind of shenanigans. Like, either you release the best version on PC, or PC players are going to be super pissed at you. It should have been pretty obvious that that was going to be the case, because they don't jokingly refer to as the PC master race for no reason. They expect the best. Let's see. What is this older Tech Raptor article? Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. Yeah, that came out April 17th.
Let me think.
So, the issues of Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana, which maybe these are fixed now, but maybe not. VSync doesn't work, various audio issues, light flickering, full screen detection doesn't work, irregular shutters, text issues, various controller and keyboard issues.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see, DSI fix. Yeah, moving on though. So yeah, there's still some growing pains, but it's still way better that we get the Japanese games on Steam. I'd still rather own these games and have them on my Steam wishlist, even if they run badly. As certainly part of the factor of looking at my wishlist is that there are some games on there that are too old. There are some games that I'd really only spend 5 minutes playing and covering, but I still kind of want to own them. I still would like them in this one place where I know I own them. Let's see. Well, let's try that again, I guess. I could play Warrior. We could keep it spicy and try the Warrior. None of my Asian account cards are great. Moving on, we have another article. Tech Raptor has an article, Proposed Law in Pennsylvania would tax mature video games. It's a slightly interesting argument whether taxes should be used to curb negative actions. Basically the sin tax idea. It certainly wasn't originally what taxes were supposed to be about. And what's funny here, just in a broad sense, the idea of a sin tax goes against the idea of free, fair, open markets. Like, if people want mature rated video games the government should not curb the free flow of commerce there, and yet they do. So if you're going to bow down to capitalism, pure capitalism, as your religious doctrine, you can't be for taxing specific things, but you could be okay with taxing all profit relatively equally. But yeah, that is just a bigger thought and argument that I was having. Video game buyers might have to shell out a few more dollars for an already expensive hobby, at least if the Pennsylvania residents, if proposed House Bill 2705, which almost certainly none of the legislation in Pennsylvania plays video games, but one would assume that they have either kids or grandkids that do. This legislation was proposed September 25th, 2018 by Christopher B. Quinn, Republican, on the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. It would put a 10% sales tax on mature and adult-only video games. Frankly, there would be literally no adult-only games sold. There's so few of them. I'm not sure the ESA has even given out an adult-only rating in the past 3 years. Here's a quote from this great representative, and I'm using great sarcastically here. Quote, "Over the past few years, acts of violence in schools seem to be occurring more frequently and with more intensity." Key phrase here being seem. Continuing the quote, because actually acts of violence have been going down for years. From Colorado to Connecticut to most recently Parkland, Florida, students have experienced unthinkable actions by peers in a place that should promote learning and enrichment, safety, and protection. I suppose that's end quote at that point. TechRaptor has some weird way in which they don't end their quotes. That literally means nothing. It's stupidity at its maximum, because taxing mature games, which you'd have to be 18 and older to buy, or maybe in Pennsylvania 17 or older is what they're saying. I thought you had to be 18 or older to buy a mature game at most stores as a store policy alone. You're not really doing anything at all there.
One shot, one.
Specifically targeted game content suitable for those 17 or older, rated M through AO, and contain violence, as well as sexual content and language. What did sexual content cost? How many orgies have happened in the United States in the past few decades that those games need to be taxed? Like, I'm joking here, of course. Like, there's nothing there. And language, like, why again? It's ridiculous. It's probably no surprise that this law is being released in Pennsylvania, if I was to guess. It's probably a pretty conservative area. The whole bill appears to benefit schools at the expense of a 10% tax on M and adult-rated games. Yeah, I'm sure it will all go to schools for the first year, and then it will get siphoned off to other things later. Quinn cites a study by the National Center for Health Research, which I don't believe is an actual Center for Health Research as much as a lobbyist group under one of these names. The study's bottom line came to this conclusion. Quote, "It's important to keep in mind that violent video games exposure is only one risk factor of aggressive behavior. For example, mental illness, adverse environments, and access to guns are all risk factors for aggression and violence. Let's see. And certainly I'm not going to be just a pro video game shill and say that somebody who is disturbed or prone to violence already should be allowed to play violence on video games, although depending on the specific person that might be a great outlet for violent impulses. I've definitely met people that should probably be institutionalized and not allowed to play video games of any kind. And those are the kind of people I imagine that are the only kind of people that really should not be allowed to play video games. But inherently, all these games still are 17 or older, so every other student is not supposed to be playing these games anyways. Let's see, the Media Coalition and the association that fights for First Amendment rights sent a memo in opposition for HB 2705, House Bill 2705, citing the Supreme Court case as precedent. Quote, the Supreme Court has ruled that video games are fully protected by the First Amendment in Brown versus Entertainment Mark Association and Entertainment Softwares Association. The court struck down a California law that banned minors from buying or renting video games with certain violent imagery. So there's already been a Supreme Court case that said, as far as we're concerned, free speech is so important that we won't even allow you to make a law stopping a 10-year-old from buying an adult-only game. It's always been just the stories, and inherently that's how everything works in the United States these days. It's always the corporations make the rules, and the rules then are beyond question because it's not some government making up the rules. Let's see. So, yeah. If anything, this is just going to be a House bill that gets passed and then immediately taken to court and then immediately knocked down for being unconstitutional. Why politicians do this is because it gets them press and it gets them brownie points with the people that are likely to vote for them. So they will bring up these issues that they know they will never actually win on, and they don't really even care whether they win on the issue or not. They are simply just using it to get attention. It's just a sleazy tactic. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called The Cells, which looks like a cell simple puzzle game. And I'm not really impressed. It looks like a Tetris drag and drop game. Why would anybody want to play something like this? Like a slow version of Tetris. That's really dumb. The only thing that even makes Tetris slightly entertaining is the fact that there's a challenge being added because of the time. If you don't have any challenge, it's like you're playing 2048 but Tetris forever. Imagine you could play this game forever. Let's see, play this.
Is my shield.
And this. Should have played that. See, how much was this game? 40% off for 59 cents, so clearly the developer doesn't have a lot of faith in the game either. They made a bunch of very extremely generic, low-effort games. We already talked about that.
So many options.
Next we have a game called Just a Game, which is clearly an asset flip sandbox first person shooter game. Like, there's nothing here. Some of these assets look slightly interesting, but yeah, there's nothing. Literally no game there. Early access, 59 cents discounted. No surprise. This.
Be thirsty.
And let's see, this and this attack here. Darn it!
Job's done.
How did it kill the one I wanted to stay alive? See, some of these articles actually are the same articles or the same stories, so I don't really need to talk about them, which is good. Let's see this.
I'm game.
Nice strike.
Looking at a trailer from 2008 for the game Ushiro. TechRaptor has another article talking about the Ushiro game that was announced in 2008, and they have the video. It still doesn't really mean anything though, but if the game is not even in development now, there's nothing to take from that or learn.
Be thirsty. I don't need any of you.
Hostile detected.
Let's keep on playing.
I'm game.
TechRaptor has an article, Red Dead Revolver Rewind review, Dead Board Reviewer. So this is the old game Red Dead Revolver that they're reviewing, which looks like a pretty old game. Yeah, they give it a 4.0 mediocre. Red Dead Revolver used to be interesting, if not particularly great. Third-person shooter. Time has not been kind to its mechanics, frustrating design, poor voice acting, or forgettable story. Pros: early levels of fun. Showdown mode gave a few rounds of enjoyment. Cons: paper-thin story with boring characters. Game becomes frustrating. Too many bad boss fights. Showdown mode is bare bones bad voice acting. So yeah, don't go back and play the original Red Dead Revolver game. Alright, so where are we now? I've got everything set in 2 hours to get the daily quest done. The only thing left is the Tavern Brawls. So I'm opening up and launching the Americas account, and hopefully the Tavern Brawl now has unlocked.
Find
But
a seat if you can.
that being said, even if the Tavern Brawl has unlocked, like there's still a slight problem here. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. What I'm gonna have to risk and do is let's end this recording now and start a third recording. The third recording might very well just be me doing this one Tavern Brawl, and then enough time won't have passed to do the Tavern Brawl on the European account or the Asian account, and so I'll just be playing ranked. I have a lot of news here. I'm not getting through the news very fast, but yeah, we're just having a laid-back, chilled experience. That's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a nice evening.